All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome one and welcome all into our Prospect Planner piece brought to you by RDA Financial. Make sure to check them out today at RDA Financial on the good old internet and hey, wherever you can catch them. Again, they're people who know finance, they know money, they know all about that. But what's more is they are part of your community. They really do a great job of engagement and what's going on to know. I mean, their moms, dads, uncles, aunts, more than that, right? So they're great people who have your best ideals at heart, and of course, they're ones that help us out with our prospect planner piece. And it's a lot of fun, a lot of good times. And so, hey, we urge you to check out the pursuit of the college game beyond the baseball field. What is it like for parents? What is it like for players? And of course, we want to hear from you as well. What experiences have you gone through? What experiences have you taken in so that we can go ahead and give those out there that holistic view of what has worked for some, what has not worked for some. And everyone's unique and every path is different and every path is going to have a lot of ups and downs, but we're hoping to make it a little bit smoother for you when you get into that route here. Again, whether it's JUCO or the D1 ranks, hey, there's a lot of different paths to go. But speaking about the right path to go, we're going to bring in the one and only Chad Erickson of RDA Financial as we get ready to talk here. And Chad, as always, appreciate you coming along for the ride here. This is going to be another good episode here, and I know that there's a ton to get to, so we're just going to dive right into it.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. So, we're just getting into the season here, and things are heating up. We've got in our household, we got a few games under our belt. Got rained out today, but we'll be back at it tomorrow. I think there are a lot of schools today. This is Monday. This is Tuesday. We're recording the 21st. So a lot of storms across the state of Iowa, and so a lot of people are staying at home. So let's make use of that time, right? Let's get together and let's talk some baseball since we're not watching it.
Yeah, no kidding. I think what I really want to do is just dive into so much of the game, and unfortunately, Mother Nature today had a completely different plan for most of the state. You know, we were going to get the chance, hopefully, to dive into a double header here, as we were trying to get the Heelan and North double header, but again, that has been postponed to the Wednesday. And you know what? Hey, it happens. I get it. It's just, you know what, Chad, I'm as I've gotten through baseball and learned to love baseball, I've sat there and go, you know what? It can rain on the weekends. It can rain on the weekends, maybe Wednesday, but it has to stop any other day, right? I, you know,
That's right.
I just anyway. We're gonna continue to roll on, ladies and gentlemen, and talk a whole lot here. As again, Chad jumps on from RDA Financial, and just a quick shout out here. RDA Financial is also, as we bring in a huge logo. Sorry, Chad, I covered you up there for a bit. But as we go ahead and talk about this, again, RDA Financial also helps bring you our team outlook of every broadcast as we kind of dive into the teams, what they look like, and what their season was prior. And so I really have a lot of fun diving into the history of it. So, Chad, thank you, and thanks RDA for helping to put this on.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. It's a fun divergence for me during the week when I get to do these segments. So I'm happy to sit in and try and help give some information to moms and dads and players out there that want to move on to the next level and just kind of share my learning process. I mean, by all means, I don't know everything about all of this. Like you said earlier, everybody's experience is different, and so, but I'm happy to share what we've been through, what we found is successful, what we found maybe didn't really make good use of our time or our resources.
Yep.
So, you know, every once in a while in this segment, we want to talk about where we're at in the year and
Mm-hmm.
what we should be focused on in the recruitment process. So, right now, um, parents should be working on uh, continually throughout the season, work on those highlight videos,
Yep.
get a good angle at a game when your son's at bat. Right-handed hitters, you'd be recording them from the left-handed side of the field, and so that the uh, coaches can see their swing. Pitchers, probably best to get those pitchers um, uh, from behind home plate, but
Yep.
also side view isn't so bad either. Helps see a little bit better arm angles and things like that. So, change up the angles a little bit, but
Yep.
be prepping those highlight videos. Um, to reiterate what we said probably a year ago in this segment, um, with those highlight videos, it's important to really cut that stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and keep it very short. Like our son's fall highlight video that we presented to colleges, the defensive video was less than a minute. The offensive video was less than a minute. Um,
So really kind of
it,
keep it into that 1 to 2 minute window is where, or even
yep,
maybe just strictly a minute, and to kind of make it more tangible for coaches. I think that's kind of a
yep,
big thing. I know that I know that so many of these great universities and great colleges have a lot of applicants, right? A lot of people trying to vie for it, and it's kind of like it's your first job application, in a sense. It is a lot of serious notes to it. You do have to take it step by step, but yeah. So ultimately, as I get what you're saying, Chad, just keep it short and simple and cover it from many sides here. Uh, how can they, when they go about that in the season? How one, how have you heard others? I know that you've seen others do things, record in season stuff. I know that you have been around. You've seen a lot of that. From your experience and what you've seen, how can people go about getting that during the season, or should they do that during the season? I know that there's fall and spring leagues, but what do you do in terms of capturing that video during the season? How do you do it? And then we'll get to kind of what that length looks like.
yeah. So there are a lot of different ways. I've seen a lot of parents using their cell phone.
Yep.
I use a GoPro. It's a wide angle lens, which I think can be helpful because you could actually get the pitcher and the batter in the same frame with that. Um, and that can be helpful too when you're working with your player in regard to trying to fix different things. Video can be beneficial in that regard, and so that's been good. I'm not convinced that a GoPro is the perfect camera for
Yep.
this. Um, there are pluses and minuses to it. Um,
Yep.
Cell phones are going to be sufficient, but you want to make sure that you get close enough so that the focal point of what your video captures is the person that you want to highlight,
Yep.
right? So, but that being said, we used entire field shots when we were doing um, perfect game video, for instance,
Yep.
with their Diamondcast product. Um, we cut out highlights from that. We cut out highlights from live stream on Game Changer. We also we've used Baller TV in the past, if that's a bowl. PBR, I forget the name of their video capture system, but you these are subscription things, um, but it's worth it to get the clips that you need. And the other thing is as well for me, like I don't have the patience, and I prefer to enjoy the baseball game and not just sit there and videotape the entire time or video record the entire time.
Yep.
um, and so you can miss some defensive highlights, because a lot of people focus on the offense, but there are some really good things that I know my son got feedback from. We went back to a PBR film, we went back to perfect game film, and we did some screen captures of some really phenomenal defensive plays that he made behind the plate.
Yep.
Blocking a ball and throwing a guy out at second, ball in the dirt, squirts away 2 feet, recovers, throws it to second, makes the out. I mean, those are things, those athletic plays on defense
Yep.
that the coaches really like to see that stuff. They want to know how athletic you are. And sometimes those defensive plays demonstrate your athleticism better than you hitting a home run. And then speaking to the home run thing, don't don't show your son hitting a home run and then trotting around the all four bases.
Yeah.
Once that umpire once that umpire signifies that it's a home run, cut the video off there. The main thing that the coach wants to see is the swing anyway. The
Yep.
results, although the results are important, that's not the main focal point that these coaches are looking at. They're not really looking at the outcomes. They're looking at bat speed, they're looking at
Yep.
bat angle, they're looking at exit velocity, they're looking at a lot of things, and outcomes are probably a ways down the list.
And I think you're right
So,
with that, Chad. I love that point that you make. We get a lot that are sending us stuff to our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter accounts that have them hitting that home run, and it's some of these athletes do a great job with their video editing as well, and but I think that too much time could be put in the editing of the video and not enough, like you mentioned, about the quick hits, the points in which if you hit a home run, great. Once it's signaled, you know, that's it. Tune in. Nobody's going to watch you to see how well you trot around the bases. And I mean, nobody's going to look at that. So I think unfortunately, I see a couple of those, and I'm not trying to deter anybody from celebrating themselves, but in a practicality standpoint, once you've hit that home run, I tune out, right? As in a broadcast, it's not going to be that. But as a coach, all right, he hit the home run, great. Now I want to see the swing. And
right.
I think that's a replicatable thing. So I love that point. I just wanted to also chime in there because that is something that I see a lot of parents and kids trying to give the experience, and the experience is something that you shouldn't play back on camera. It's something you should
Yeah.
experience in the moment in the game.
Yeah, you know what? If you wanna put that full home run, including the celebration, on your graduation video for family and friends to admire, that's great. You should do that.
That's a
But
good point.
coaches are not interested in that. They want to see your swing. They want to, in the case of a home run, they're witnessing your power. But once that home run signaled, the ball's already over the fence. You did it. That's it. And so that's how you get a season full of highlights down to less than, like right around a minute. Is okay. There's a double to the gap. Ball's down in the gap, and the players are running after it, or a ball's hit off the fence. Once the ball hits the fence, that cut it off.
Yep.
You don't necessarily need to see a triple legged all the way out or a double legged all the way out. You're rounding second base. You can put the writing on that video that says, okay, here's your double, right? Or here's the triple. And you just save the coach a lot of time, and you're not showing them something that they're not interested in,
And I
right?
think too, it that's such a huge point to say, is that what are they interested in? What are they going to see? And I think one of the things, Chad, that you could get coaches could get okay on board with this. All right, I need to move on. I've got others to see. But yeah, I think that's something to really to take note. You have to make sure that you give them the quick hits. I know you want to put a lot in there, but certainly I think what you had mentioned to me is not just you're not just sending one thing out, right? There's multiple things that you can do. Of course, there's so many events over the course of a couple of years that it's trying to fit it all into one may not be as plausible. So also think about utilizing multiple different videos, different ways to do that. I know you have mentioned that you've pieced together several different things and even dedicated a day to defense. I'm going to watch a lot for defense today. Not to say you can't do both, but a lot to defense today and a lot to offense for today. And on some of the really big games against some big pitchers, maybe do a little bit of both. So I think
Yep.
it's worth it there. But I also wanted to ask here, Chad, when you use your GoPro, how how are you utilizing it? Is it strictly from the stands? Do you attach it to the fence? How do you? I've seen a lot of different ways. How have you worked with that in the past?
Well, I have not. I have not traditionally used the GoPro as something that I'm using for the entire game.
Uh huh.
I'm picking my spots. If my son's on the mound, then I'm running the GoPro for that half inning.
Yep.
If he is at bat, then I take a video of his at bat. Um, Traditionally, I haven't taken video of him when he's behind the plate, but I can see that there's a lot of value there because if you have a pretty athletic son on the field, they're going to make some great plays. I mean, I've seen some spectacular plays
Yep.
by outfielders, infielders, catchers, pitchers, and it's tough unless you have video going the entire time. And I would say what you guys do when you go to games and that game is out there on YouTube, you can go and you can do video capture on that game and
Yeah.
get that defensive highlight, get that offensive highlight. I would hope that you would put on there that this is from iabaseball.com, right? And
Yeah.
give
Hopefully.
credit there a little bit, but help iabaseball.com out by saying, hey, this is a worthwhile thing. We want to have IA baseball come to our field and broadcast a game, um, and
Yeah.
highlight the players and and I know more and more the video is going to get better and better. So, for instance, I was at Heelan JV game last night, and I was taking peeks at the ball game in Akron that was being live streamed, and listening to that local broadcast. So I'm watching two games at the same time. I've coached a lot of kids, and I have a lot of interest in how they are doing. And so these live streams that happen and they're put up there on YouTube and they're out there.
Yep.
So you can use that as a tool as well. Go out there and capture that highlight tool or highlight off of and use that live stream as a tool
Yeah.
for your recruitment process.
I
So
yeah. I think
that's
very big.
that's really what I would say is just recognize when your game's being broadcast or live streamed or what have you, or if somebody's recording and that recording's available to you. It's pretty easy to get a screen capture of that video and add that to the highlight film.
Yeah.
And so that's a
Yeah.
phenomenal use of resources.
And I
So
think too, with as you use it, don't forget again. Make sure, as Chad mentioned, to credit who you will. But I think it just again it adds. There's that in-game feel. You know, this isn't a rehearsed thing. It's something that's cool to use. And Chad, I also asked about kind of how you utilize that within your own how you utilize that camera. I think that's a great point. That it shouldn't be a for all game thing. And I also like the point about using apps. It may, yes, it may be something that, say, Perfect Game has you do, or PBR kind of fits their mold. But I would say using an app is kind of a better way to do it, because if you want to capture video and not rely on those entities, man, utilize. You can also utilize what they have to help yourself out, and you can use it with just your phone, because otherwise you then have to use your phone and transfer that video somewhere. Applications have a great job of condensing that right then and there to usable form to send out. That's, I think, the biggest thing, the biggest in the industry I've been in getting video out there and trying to transfer that to social media and whatnot. One of the biggest hiccups has been easily can it be transferred to where you're trying to get to. If you have an app, it's built in to process that at a better speed in order to capture it and fit it in a great nice bow for you. So I would urge, like Chad said, to get out there and utilize something like that, and utilize, yes, you may be in a sense using somebody else's entity or app, but again, it can help your process out as well. And I also, Chad, wanted, while we're talking about it here, briefly mention different ways that you can get your phone out there. There's a lot of different fence mounts out there. A lot of companies like Miyoki, uh, Ubizi, Elanzio. I don't know if I'm saying these names all that right. They're just in my notes. Pazanze, Pmsanzay. So do what you will with that name. But also Joby, and Joby is one that I have used in the past, and you can kind of get these. You can easily twist these to get around onto the fence, and you can use this inside, outside the fence. Again, it can kind of go through there, wrap around. But one of the things I do like is that it has a leveler on there for you to not have to go back into the fence, outside the fence, in and out. You can kind of check to see, is it level, is it where you want it, and again, it can screw on there with that. But again, this is more of a USB or you kind of connect to your phone on mount. I know that Logitech has a lot of those, LOGI. A lot of ways that you can get it through there. Again, Joby has, I believe, some of their own cameras as well that you can use. But or you can simply use this as just phone attachments. This is for just a camera attachment, but you can use phone attachments as well that kind of click in
right.
and space in there. So however you want to do it, I think it's, like Chad said, very important for you to go out and capture some video on your own. Don't just rely on other services to do that for you.
yeah, I would say as well, if you're going to do it on your own, like for my GoPro, I have 3 batteries, and I'm typically having to swap those batteries out. That would be another critique that I have of GoPro, is that the battery. I mean, it's a nice compact design, but the internal batteries, um, they get pretty hot, and then they start to draw down fast, and
Yep.
that's why I've got 3 batteries that I rely on through the course of an afternoon. So it is that'd be my other critique of a GoPro. But uh, one thing that I would want to add to, please talk with your coach or your administrator if you're going to hang things from a fence or a
Yep.
net or something like that. Um, we don't want anybody getting into trouble,
Yeah.
uh, and because some facilities are pretty particular about what they're going to allow.
Yep.
So just be careful of that and be considerate of the fans that are around you, because I try not to. I walk in front of fans, but it's usually to get into position, and there's no action on the field happening as I'm doing it.
Yes.
I'm trying to be really considerate as I get into position, and I'm not trying to camp out in front of somebody and obscure their view. So just be very considerate of everybody, because you don't want that. Sometimes games can get pretty intense, and you may have to go into enemy territory to get the video angle that you need. So just just be as nice as possible and considerate as possible as you do all these things.
Yeah, very important. Again, placement is key. And also don't put the camera in a position for others to cross by. You know, sometimes you can get that good overview, but then people come by and it could ruin an entire moment. And you know, one thing that we do in our broadcasts is, yes, we would love to put it in the middle of the stands, for crying out loud, but we don't want to interrupt the fan experience. So there is more than just your experience to worry about. And I would say, from experience on our part, place it a little bit. I guess it never is really a good place when it's right behind the action. But I would say try and place it a little bit outside of the normal of the foul ball area, right? And I say that anywhere up and down from the batter all the way up to the edge of the fence. That tends to get hit quite a bit, and we've had some cameras go down because of that. And we thought, man, right behind, maybe looking on the other view of the batter, but then the foul ball on the hits right at the fence. So I think right about there, right about mid level, just underneath, there's usually a big pole. You can fit it underneath of there, see some action, or catch it alongside the fence, preferably on the outside. Because if fixated on the inside, let's be honest, you're usually not moving it very much if you're attaching it to a fence. So from past experience, fasten it to the outside of the fence. There are views in which you can get, so do that. And again, try your best to kind of gauge where the foul balls might hit, and make sure to also note that this is a game in which you never know where a foul ball is going to go. So please beware that if you attach it to the fence, that there's a large possibility that it could be hit. So putting it out there for what it's worth, Chad.
No doubt, no doubt. So that's my take on the video, which is important right now to be thinking
Yep.
about those things and getting those highlights as the season gets kicked off. Build your library of highlights as the season goes on. The other thing that I think everybody should be doing is uh, continue to do that research on the schools that you would like to play for. I know we went uh, last week. We talked about the district tournaments or regional tournaments, and those regional tournaments. Uh, we went through a lot of the area junior colleges, and we mentioned how good those programs were. So, be doing research right now on the schools that you would like to test out. Um, be looking at their websites to see if they have a camp that's coming up that might be happening at a time even when you would be able to attend even during our seasons
Yep.
as the summer goes on. And then beyond that, when are the showcases happening after our season is over, and what will fit into your schedule? And lastly, diversify, right? If you did, try not to do the events with the same event coordinator each and every time.
Yep.
um, I think it's good to make a circuit, do a few different showcases throughout the year, but I would diversify. That way, you cast a wider net, because not everybody's looking at PBR, not everybody's looking at perfect game. etc. So
Yeah.
try and put out as much good information as you can, and really good luck to everybody this season. I hope it. I think it's going to shape up to be a really competitive season. I don't think there's been a time in the state of Iowa where baseball as a sport has been this strong. So I hope we continue to keep growing on that. And I mean, holy cow, we're going to talk about this here in our next go round, Andrew. But you look at what happened over the last week since we talked about just the junior colleges. Okay, so we've got one school in the D1 Junior College World Series. We've got two schools from Iowa in the Division II Junior College World Series, and we're going to talk about that next time.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for those schools, and those guys are playing some really top-notch baseball on a national level. So I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. And ladies and gentlemen, a whole lot more to come through. Hey, check our social media pages. We'll have clips of this episode. Plus, you can just catch it here on YouTube, on Rockfin, however you want to digest all that is the prospect planner we have for you. But for myself, Andrew Brown, and of course, the one and only Chad Erickson, thanks again for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. And hey, thoughts, comments, more, let us know, as this is absolutely your segment. We go through experiences, so we'd love to have you on. What are your experiences like, and how do they match up with others and what they've gone through? So appreciate you coming along for the ride, and until we see each other next time, stay safe on the base pass. Thanks again, folks.